Hey everyone, welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're unpacking a seriously fascinating piece of source text. We're looking at something that, well, you and I use literally every single day without a second thought, our names. We're going to look at the fundamental, bare-bones reason why names even exist in the first place, and then, here's where it gets really interesting, we'll see how this logic applies directly to the concept of the divine. It's a short text, but man, the philosophical implications are absolutely massive. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. A universe of one. Basically, the ultimate thought experiment. Imagine for a second that everything you know is totally stripped away. You are completely alone in the vastness of the cosmos. Now, ask yourself, would you need a name if you were the only person in the entire universe? Just let the weight of that absolute, total solitude set in for a second. If you're the only consciousness around, suddenly, that need for a personal identity, a specific tag that shouts to the world, hey, this is me, it just totally vanishes.
The answer from the text is incredibly simple, and honestly, perfectly logical. No. If you were the only person in the universe, you wouldn't need a name. You wouldn't need a specific label. Actually, scratch that, you wouldn't even want one. You could just be referred to as the man or simply human, and that works perfectly. Why? Because without anyone else around to confuse you with, a highly specific proper identity is completely pointless. Which brings us to our next point, Section 2, the rule of differentiation, and why we actually use labels.
So, moving from that wild hypothetical universe of one to the actual everyday mechanics of human language, the source text breaks down a name strictly as a label or an identity that's required only to differentiate yourself from another. That's it. You have a name solely because you have to separate yourself from the guy standing next to you. It's like a linguistic barcode. This is the absolutely crucial premise that sets up the rest of the author's logic.
All right, let's pivot here. Section 3, the divine singularity. Applying this rule to God.
Now we're going to look analytically at how this whole naming logic applies to a singular deity. When we talk about the belief in one God, the author points out it's actually conceptually pretty difficult to even say one God. Because, logically speaking, you can't really count God, right? A supreme being isn't, a series of items in an inventory that you can just tally up at the grocery store.
So, the text resolves this counting problem in a really elegant way. It says, let's just say that there is no other God but God. By recognizing absolute singularity, it means God doesn't need to be separated or, differentiated from anything else in existence. There's no lineup to pick from.
Let's walk through this logical progression step by step, because it's pretty neat. Step 1, no other God exists. Total singularity. Step 2, because of that absolute singularity, absolutely no differentiation is needed. Which brings us right to step 3, we refer to God simply as God, and boom, it clicks. The word God is a perfectly sufficient identifier when there's literally no one else to confuse the divine with.
And here is the big aha moment of this whole explainer. Quoting the text directly here, why I think Allah is not a name, but the Arabic for God. The logic we just walked through backs up this central thesis perfectly. The word Allah functions exactly like the word God. It's an identifier of absolute singularity, not a differential label pulled from some massive pool of other deities. It's an identifier for sure, but it is not a proper name in the human sense of the word.
So the crucial point is, how does this apply back to us? Section 4. Why Adam needed a name. The human contrast. Let's contrast these two concepts. On one hand, you have the divine. No others exist. No name needed, just God. On the other hand, you have the first man, Adam. Many humans will exist, therefore he requires the name Adam. The author argues that the very act of giving Adam a name was inherent, absolute proof that there were going to be a whole lot more beings just like him.
Think about the final deduction here. First, God named the first man Adam. Second, that action itself was proof there would be many like him. Third, otherwise he wouldn't have required a name at all. Requiring a name is the ultimate linguistic proof of plurality. Having a name means by definition, you are inevitably part of a massive crowd.
And that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought straight from the source's logic. If a name is strictly a tool for differentiation, if it's really just linguistic proof that there are others like you out there, what does your name say about your place in the universe? It's kind of a mind-bending lens to view your own identity through, isn't it? It highlights the sheer incredible scale of humanity. Your name isn't just who you are, it's the ultimate proof that you are not alone. Some to chew on until next time.